Hi everyone, today we're going to divide positive and negative decimals. So it follows the same rules as dividing or multiplying integers. So if you take a negative divided by a positive, your answer is always negative. If you take a positive divided by a negative, your answer is always negative. Or if you take a negative divided by a negative, your answer is always positive. So signs the same, answers positive, signs are different, answer is negative. Same rules for multiplication and division. So the first problem I have is negative 7 and 7/10 divided by 5/10. From the beginning of the year, if you remember, we have to have the divisor, which is the outside number, has to be a whole number. So we need to move the decimal point once to the right, which is the same as multiplying by 10 to make it a 5. Whatever we do to divisor, we have to do the dividend to keep the problem equivalent. So we have to move the 7 and 7/10 to the right once, which is multiplying by 10. Now we take our decimal point and move it straight up in our answer. So now we can take 77 divided by 5. 5 goes into 7 once, which is a 5. We subtract, we get a 2. And then you bring your 7 down, and 5 goes into 27 5 times, which is 25. We take 27 minus 25, which is a 2. And since we have a remainder, we're going to keep it as a decimal number. Since we started on decimal forms, we need to add a 0. Since I have a decimal point in there, it's still 77. Bring it down, and we know that 5 goes into 20 4 times, which should be on the right side of the decimal. So, and 20, we subtract, we get 0. So that means that our quotient is 15 and 4/10, but it should be a negative 15 and 4/10 because we took a negative divided by a positive. So your final answer would be a negative 15 and 4/10. Next, you can try on your own, or you can do it along with me. We have a negative 2 and 304 thousandths divided by a negative 900, which means we have the signs are the same, so our answer should be positive. We're going to divide like normal, ignoring the signs. So we're going to take our divisor and move it the decimal point twice to make it into 9 as a whole number, which is the same as multiplying by 100. Whatever we do to the divisor, we do the same thing to the dividend. So you move it over twice, which is the same as multiplying by 100. Then we move it straight up into our answer for our quotient, for our decimal point. Now we have 230 and 4/10 divided by 9. 9 doesn't go into 2, but it does go into 23, which would be 2 times, which is 18. We'll go ahead and subtract that. We have to regroup a little bit to be able to subtract. So we'll take 1 away from the 2, make it a 1, make that 13. 13 minus 8 is 5. Bring down our 0. And 9 goes into 50, which would be 5 times, which is 45. We're going to take 50 minus 45, which is 5. You could do some regrouping, but you should be able to do that in your head. And you go and bring the next number down, which is a 4. And we have 9 into 54, and 9 times 6 is 54. So the 6 should be above the 4, which is 54. So we are done with our division. So our answer should be 25 and 6/10. And it is a positive answer since both numbers were negative. So we got a positive 25 and 6/10 for our quotient. We're going to go ahead to the next slide. You guys may pause the video and try these on your own to see if you get the same answer as we will get at the end. So here we go. So we're going to take 18 divided by 600. It's a negative 18, so our answer should be negative. We're going to go ahead and move our decimal point over twice to the right to make it a whole number. So now we have 6, which is the same as multiplying by 100. 18 does not have a decimal in it, so we need to add one. And in whole numbers, a decimal is to the right of the number, so we need to move it twice, which is the same as multiplying by 100, which means we have to add 2 zeros. Then move our decimal point straight up into our quotient for our answer. Now we take 6 into 1, isn't going to happen. And we can take 6 into 18, which is 3 times, and which is 18. That means 18 minus 18 is 0. And bring the next 0 down, and 6 into 0 is 0 times, Bring the next number down, which is a 0, and 6 into 0 is 0 times. So we have 300, but our final answer would be a negative 300 because we had a negative divided by a positive. Hopefully everybody got that one correct and remembered how to add a decimal point to a whole number. And the last one, I have a negative 7 and 48 hundredths divided by a negative 1 and 1/10. We need to go ahead and move the decimal point over once to make the 1 and 1/10 into an 11 by multiplying it by 10. So I need to multiply the dividend by 10 by moving over once and then going straight up into my quotient for my answer. So now I have 74 and 8/10 divided by 11, and 11 does not go into 7, but it does go into 74, which would be 6 times. 11 times 6 is 66. We need to go ahead and subtract. We'll do a little bit of regrouping here. So we're going to take 1 away from the 7, make it a 6, and then 14 minus 6 is 8. Then we bring our 8 down to keep our division going. So, and we have 11 into 88, which would be 8 times, which does equal 88. So our division is done. So we need to go back and look and see if our answer is positive and negative, and our signs are the same. 2 negatives makes a positive answer. So our answer is positive 6 and 8/10. I hope that you got those two correct. Remember, dividing decimals with different signs follow the same rules as integers that we learned earlier in the week. Thank you.